A really bad game for the Bulls tonight. Not getting around that. One of the poorer games the Bulls have had all season. The Bulls didn't come out with energy. They looked tired. They couldn't hit their shots. And the guys just didn't look engaged throughout this game. But you know what? I don't really care. And neither should you. Like, this is why the NBA is the way that it is. You simply cannot win all of your games. And from time to time, you're going to have bad games. But the reason I'm not really fazed by this loss is because, one, the Bulls are still one of the top teams in the East. They were just coming off a 4-game winning streak. But more importantly, this isn't the Bulls team that we know. You have multiple guys out of the lineup, whether it be from injury or health and safety protocols. Like, if DeRozan and Caruso were playing in this game, you're likely going to see a different outcome. And that's not even factoring in that the Bulls were also without Kobe White due to the health and safety protocol, Javonte Green, Matt Thomas, obviously Patrick Williams is still out. Like, the Bulls have so many players out of the roster that they were granted a hardship exception today. So funny that they call it a hardship exception, by the way. It's like some sort of tragedy occurred. But because the Bulls are so shorthanded, they've been able to sign Stanley Johnson from the G League, who, if you remember, the Bulls had invited to trading camp, but ultimately didn't make the roster, which I always said I was a bit surprised by, the fact that they went with Matt Thomas over Stanley Johnson, because Stanley gives you a bit more size and defense. But in any event, this isn't the Bulls roster that we know can compete at a high level. Now, give the Cavs credit. They're a good team. Like, they play very strong defense. They're one of the best defensive teams in the league. And don't forget, the Cavs are also stacked in the front court. And I talked about this in the weekly preview video, that this was going to be the Bulls' toughest games in terms of mismatches, because the Cavs have Jarrett Allen, Evan Mobley, Lauri Markkanen, Kevin Love, and then you have the Bulls starting Derrick Jones Jr. at power forward. Now, the problem with this game, among many things, but the main issue was that the other guys didn't step up like they did in the game against the Nuggets. Because the Cavs knew that they needed to lock up and double team Lavine with DeRozan being out. They know he's going to be our go-to scorer. And rather than other guys trying to create plays to help Lavine out, guys were more often than not standing around and not trying to get involved. This forces Lavine to try to do too much, which leads to lower percentage shots and turnovers, which leads to the Bulls being inefficient on offense across the board. The Bulls shot an abysmal 27% from 3 tonight, going 7 for 26, 42% from the field, and turned the ball over 17 times. That's never a recipe for winning. Lavine still played relatively well despite being double teamed most of the night. He still managed to put up 23 points and 9 assists. 9 assists in a game when other guys couldn't hit shots to save their lives. You know, mainly talking about Vucevic, but more on him in a little bit. Lonzo Ball actually played pretty well on offense, scoring 19 points on 50% shooting, and he also had 7 assists and 3 steals, but he also committed 5 turnovers tonight. Him and Lavine combined for 9 of the Bulls' total 17 turnovers. Now, as for Vucevic, I'm not going to harp on him too much because he does a lot of other things on the court than just scoring, like the fact that he still pulled down 12 rebounds and had 2 blocks. But the guy really needs to shoot better, especially when the Bulls are really relying on him right now for his scoring with DeRozan being out. Shooting 8 for 23 is pretty bad, especially when you're missing a good amount from inside the restricted area. Vuce also could not hit from outside. He ended up going 1 for 7. And the thing is, Vuce's ability to spread the floor is so critical for the Bulls' success. So when he's not knocking down those shots, defenses aren't going to come out to guard him, which makes it more challenging down low. Lavine ends up getting double teamed easier, and rebounds are harder to come by when your main rebounder is bricking threes. The other thing I was a little confused by tonight was Billy Donovan's rotations. I mean, don't get me wrong, I know the Bulls are completely depleted, so you kind of have to make do with what you can, but seeing Dotson get first quarter minutes was a surprising sight to see. He ended up playing 19 minutes overall, which I would have much preferred to have seen Ayo play similar minutes as he did the other night against the Nuggets. Seeing Dotson get those kind of minutes against a team that has so much size, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like Dotson and his effort that he puts in on the floor, but he's just too small going against a team that is 4 guys over 6'11". I also was surprised that Alize Johnson and Tony Bradley didn't get more minutes. I mean, sure, they played more than what we have been seeing recently, but again, in a game where you know you're going to see a lot of mismatches, give Alize and Tony some run off the bench to help with that and fighting for rebounds and just being bigger bodies on defense. I will say it was weird to see Lauri Markkanen go against the Bulls. I know we saw it in the preseason, but it's a little bit different then. Lauri played okay tonight, kind of similar to what we saw of him last season, to be honest. He shot okay. He wasn't that aggressive in taking too many shots or fighting for rebounds. He put up 14 points, but only 1 rebound. I will say I'm very impressed with both Evan Mobley and Darius Garland. Like, those are great young players who play with a lot of confidence and poise, very mature, and play smart basketball. Cavs fans should be happy about these pieces for their future. Anyway, I know this is a shorter video because honestly, what else can there be said other than the fact that the Bulls suck tonight? But what do you expect when they're down so many men and going against one of the tallest teams in the league when the Bulls are so depleted of size? You're going to have bad games. You're going to have trap games in which you simply do not match up well against a certain team. And that's what the Bulls ran into tonight. And so now the Bulls will get much needed rest for the next couple of days. They'll fly over to Miami to take on the Heat on Saturday. Kobe White might be cleared to play by them, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll tell you what I'm more concerned about is more guys falling into the health and safety protocol with the breakout that is happening across this team, but we'll have to wait and see how things transpire over the next few days. Let me know your guys' thoughts on the game. I'll have a video out tomorrow focusing on the Pacers and their direction to rebuild and the potential trade opportunities it could present for the Bulls. Until then, guys, I hope you have a great evening. As always, be sure to subscribe if you're a Bulls fan, as I do post daily Bulls content. Thanks again for tuning in, guys, and I will catch you in the next one.